everyone. Welcome back. I'm excited about this presentation that I've been working on regarding the meditation exercises needed to start your beginner journey into Kriya Yoga. I'm especially excited because, one, we're going to need to know these things as we work through the other book that we're reading, the Mindful Birthing one, but also because I haven't done these poses since my first yoga training in 2005, and it's been kind of bittersweet. And I can already tell that I'm more relaxed and even more aware mentally, emotionally, physically. It's been very beneficial during this quarantine period here in my home in London. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. So, just to review, what we're working on today are daily asanas, the programs, the pictures I've kind of been sending in the blogs. About that stuff. And again, we're working with this book, A Systematic Course in the Ancient Tantric Techniques of Yoga and Kriya by Swami Satyananda Saraswati. So he opens up, it's really beautiful with this quote in this book. He says, "Yoga is not an ancient myth buried in oblivion. It is the most valuable inheritance of the present. It is the essential need of today in the culture of tomorrow." I love that. Without becoming too involved in the field of semantics, let us first of all define what is commonly understood by concentration. This is really important to Kriya Yoga. So, concentration implies the focusing of one's consciousness towards one point, either external or internal, to the exclusion of all other subjects or thoughts. Now, this is not such an easy process, right? For our consciousness in connection with our minds is habituated to movement, right? From one point to the next, from one object to another. Any attempt, usually on our part, to subjugate the consciousness and make it dwell on one point imposes strain on the mind, resulting in tension and frustration at our failure to curb its wandering tendency, right? So, if you observe yourself, you will find that your consciousness has a natural tendency to have a diverse perception and to move from one object to the next. So, try to concentrate on one thing for a few minutes, and you will convince yourself of this fact. You will be conscious of a never ending stream of thoughts, some that seem related to each other and others that seem totally unconnected. This occurrence of unconnected thoughts is known as distraction. I think in Hindi it's vikshepa and is a limitation of the mind, right? So many systems of yoga tell you to place an object in front of you or to visualize an internal image, concentrate on it, and lo and behold, you will start to explore the subconscious depths of the mind, right? Well, although the method is correct and can bring wonderful experiences, it takes no consideration of the wandering tendency of our consciousness, which makes concentration impossible for most people. Um, Concentration is possible really only if a person is very relaxed mentally and physically. Most people cannot relax, or if they do, it is on rare occasions, right? So, for this reason, the mind continually projects streams of differing thoughts to conscious perception. As such, to ask most people to concentrate is impossible. And if they try to concentrate, they will tend to try to suppress the disturbing factors in the mind and create more tension in themselves. So, concentration is something that occurs spontaneously in a very relaxed mind and body. Until relaxation is achieved, concentration, real concentration that is, remains impossible. A system is required which progressively leads a person to deeper states of relaxation until concentration becomes the spontaneous activity of consciousness. This system is the system of Kriya Yoga, which again is the yoga that we are studying. So, before we talk about Kriya Yoga, let us briefly discuss where uh, concentration, relaxed concentration, that is, will lead us, right? And let's talk about maybe some of the questions that arise. One of the questions that tend to come up is how can most people learn to explore their minds? If they cannot concentrate, what should they do? How can one attain meditation experience? And this is where Kriya Yoga comes to the rescue. Kriya Yoga seems to defy or contradict the basic rules of yoga. It says that you should not try to concentrate your mind. Don't make any effort to bring about one pointedness. Leave your consciousness freedom of movement, like, but let it try to follow prescribed internal movements. So Kriya Yoga accepts most people's limitations. If you're unable to concentrate, then another method must be used to accomplish the same final result. It really removes some of the pressure. Kriya Yoga is more interested in awareness than concentration. What do we mean by awareness? So, by awareness, we mean conscious attention of thoughts or of objects, either external or internal, without necessarily being one pointed. Simultaneously, and this is most important, the word awareness implies that the individual knows that his attention is at a particular place or on a train of thought. The word implies a relationship between the activity of perception and the perceiver. If if a person does not know he or she is perceiving something, then he's not aware. And by the way, when I say he or she, I don't. It's anyone. It could be it. It could be any gender that you claim. I'm just gonna say he sometimes to make it easier, or she, but it doesn't really matter. So, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So awareness implies that the individual does not try to suppress an ever arising stream of thoughts, even if they have nothing to do with this direction of perception. He merely lets the thoughts arise and disappear, remaining as a witness to them, right? Other people might understand something different by the word awareness, but the previous explanation is what Swami Satyananda Saraswati means. Basically, when a person is sufficiently relaxed, especially in the deeper layers of the subconscious mind, then awareness will lead to one pointedness or concentration. It's very cool. So, Kriya Yoga does not presuppose concentration or even withdrawal of your awareness from the outside surroundings. As such, it is more suitable, I think, for most people today, since many of us are habituated to extroversion and to an awareness which tends to move here and there and not dwell on one point to the exclusion of others, right? Especially with social networking and the like. So if you cannot concentrate and your conscious perception jumps here and there, it doesn't matter. Just carry on your Kriya Yoga practices without becoming worried or frustrated, right? Because Kriya Yoga doesn't ask you to withdraw, right, your mind to one point. It asks you to just do the opposite, to actually move your awareness, to rotate your consciousness from one point to another. Now, the very word Kriya means activity or movement, and in this context, activity or movement of awareness or consciousness. Okay. So, another important requirement of successful practice of Kriya Yoga is the correct preparation. Again, many people learn Kriya Yoga as their first introduction to yoga practices in general, and so gain little or no benefit because their bodies and minds are not ready and they lack the ability to perform basic yoga techniques. For example, have you or do you know anyone who went to a yoga class, couldn't do it, and just gave up? Like their body wasn't ready for it, their mind wasn't ready for it, and they decide, I don't like yoga, right? We're going to deal with that. And one of the ways that we do that is body control and sound health. This is a basic aim and is achieved through Hatha Yoga. By body control, we don't mean the type of control that people in circuses have developed, right? But sufficient to perform yoga practices, including Kriya Yoga, with ease. Health, needless to say, is of utmost importance, not only for more advanced Kriya Yoga practices, but for everyday life. So if you have some disease or pain, it is very difficult to think of anything else, let alone try to practice Kriya Yoga or any other higher form of yoga practice, right? So for this reason, the initial aim of yoga should be to make you radiate health by removing existing ailments, or by improving your present condition of health. It is by doing asanas, pranayama, breath exercises, and various body cleansing techniques that we will eventually review, that we can attain this required state of vitality. So once we have attained sufficient body control and health, then the practices of Kriya Yoga become very easy. Your awareness can follow the Kriya Yoga techniques without being continually disturbed by body discomfort or illness. We can actually forget the body and direct our awareness in other directions. Another preparation is to review proficiency in mudras and bandhas. These will be fully discussed in forthcoming lessons. However, as a brief description, we can say that both mudras and bandhas are methods of stimulating nerve plexuses and endocrinial secretions and for activating bioenergies in the body. So, mudras are also sometimes intended as symbolic expressions of inner mental or physical feelings. This is just a very basic description. We'll cover it more later. Another preparation for Kriya Yoga is the development of breath consciousness. Now, this one is really, 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 really important. So, I'm going to spend a little bit of time now talking about this section because you will need this base for the practices that are about to follow. So, what is breath consciousness? I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. So, I'm going to pause and just tell you the last thing that we're going to talk about is location and familiarity with the psychic passages and chakras, but we'll come back around to that. So, let's go back to breath consciousness, right? So, what is breath consciousness? It is very easy and can be developed by anyone with practice. It is merely being aware of the fact that I am breathing in and I am breathing out. This can be done even while you are talking or working or when the mind is engaged in other directions, as well as when you are sitting comfortably with your eyes closed. It can be done at any time and under any circumstances, even while you are reading these words, listening to me speak, and simultaneously understanding everything that is being proposed, right? So, with practice, it is possible to undertake all your daily activities and still maintain this breath awareness, right? This sense of presence. So, awareness of your breath implies that you are simultaneously aware of your consciousness. How cool is that? In other words, if you are aware that you are breathing, then you are automatically aware of your own awareness. Most people forget the fact that they are aware or conscious, right? They are so wrapped up in their thought processes and actions that they do these things automatically. So, by being aware of your breath, you continually know that you are aware of your conscious being, right? You no longer lose yourself in mental and physical activity. This is very important. This is like a super important point to remember. As a slight digression, consider the difference between an animal and a human being, right? So, an animal eats food, sleeps, and performs various other activities during the course of its life. A human being also eats food, sleeps, etc., but has one distinctive feature: the capacity to know what he's acting, whereas an animal performs various actions without knowing it. So, there is also a distinct difference between various stages of human development. All humans think, yet some who are more aware are able to watch themselves thinking. They're able to stand outside themselves and watch the thinking mind process occurring within their mind. This is the aim of breath awareness, to continually remind you of your ability to be aware of your consciousness and to be a witness or a spectator of your mental and physical activities. Breath awareness is an essential part of Kriya Yoga. And as I mentioned before, location and familiarity with the psychic passages and chakras. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. We're not going to really cover it right now. Not right now, maybe later. Let's talk about the relaxation of the mind. From the experience of teaching, my experience from teaching different techniques of yoga, I've noticed a distinct and remarkable difference between people's reaction to Kriya Yoga and other systems that require concentrated effort. So, when people try to concentrate, they tend to become more tense, right? They tend to develop headaches, the opposite, of course, to what is intended. After a short time, they become frustrated, start to lose interest in the practices, and start to scratch, fidget, and generally feel uncomfortable. They start even sometimes to open their eyes, and their awareness begins to wander more than it did before the start of the practice. And there seems to be, I don't know, a reaction to this concentration, and their minds rebel, and they do exactly the opposite to what is intended. So with Kriya Yoga, however, there's a noticeable difference. Because they are not asked to concentrate deeply, only to do their practices, the awareness seems to spontaneously become one pointed and relaxed. The mind is like a naughty child, if you will. If you tell it to do one thing, it will do exactly the opposite. So by asking it to concentrate, it wanders. In Kriya Yoga, by asking it to wander if it wishes, it seems to want to become one pointed. Right? From this state, meditation can spontaneously arise, and your awareness can start to explore the vast layers of the subconscious and unconscious minds. Now, when you begin to understand and to know what lies in the deeper recesses of your mind, the vast mental reservoir about which you are not normally aware, it is then that you can start to eradicate the phobias and fears, complexes, and tensions which make your life unhappy. It is these subconscious negative mental samskaras, which is a word that means impressions, which continually act below the surface of your normal consciousness and cause mental disturbances. Often, you feel unhappy and depressed. Sometimes you may know, but generally you don't understand why you feel this way, only that you do. The cause lies with these fears, these phobias, or bad memories, etc. So, by becoming aware of them, by delving into the mind, you automatically start to neutralize their negative influence on your mind, if or on your life. Apologize. If you don't know what the root cause of your unhappiness is, how can you rectify the situation? The more of these problems that you remove, the happier your life will become. This is also the way to cure emotional imbalances, nervous disorders, and all the different types of psychological problems that plague people throughout the world. Other methods of making people's lives happier have been tried, but there's only one sure way. Relax your mind, know your mind, and throw out the rubbish that exists there. So, the first obstacle in yoga is relaxation of the mind while being fully aware. If you can attain a sufficient degree of mental relaxation, then automatically your awareness will start to introvert to explore the mind. This will probably occur on the superficial levels. Um, but at first, but eventually you will start to see your deeper problems in the form of symbolic visions. This is a stage at which you really begin to remove your deeper problems, but of course it's going to be later, right? So I have found that the ideal method for people today is Kriya Yoga, without suppressing the wandering tendency of the awareness and thereby causing more tension in the mind um, than was there to begin with. Kriya Yoga aims at making your awareness spontaneously one pointed. What I love, what I love about Kriya Yoga is that it allows you to filter out like this quagmire of complexes and fears, and it's for everybody. And there's no strain or mental effort that's required to actually practice it, which is really great. You merely do your practices, and in the course of time, your mind just becomes clearer. So there are no restrictions or barriers to those who want to practice Kriya Yoga. Your age, diet, social position, religion, or whatever will not bar you from practicing. All you need is the interest and effort to change your life, right? It's my intention to make the system of Kriya Yoga available to anyone who's interested, because large numbers of people are now ready to reap the benefits of Kriya Yoga, yet cannot seem to, or maybe they just can't because they lack the knowledge of the system. So if you feel that Kriya Yoga is for you, then I hope, and Swami Satyananda Saraswati hopes, that you will sincerely take up the practices systematically illumined in this book and will start today to prepare yourself for the subtle science of Kriya Yoga. So moving on, I kind of mentioned it before. If you haven't already kind of reviewed Jala Neti via my blog or the reasons why you should practice yoga, please do that because they are part of the program, at least the Neti part is. And so the programs that I'm about to show you are selected to give you maximum benefits for the time that is available. They are intended as rough guides only, and the student, you, must add or omit practices according to your preferences, capabilities, and circumstances. Now, practice of the full program is recommended for maximum benefits physically, mentally, and spiritually. and will fully prepare you for future practices, especially the advanced techniques of Kriya Yoga. Like I said, there's like 900 pages in this book. It's amazing, but we can't go to page 900. We have to start at page 1. And so these practices that are coming up are, again, made to help you prepare for the more advanced techniques of Kriya Yoga. However, those who don't have the time to do all the practices should try to do as many as they can and aim to eventually achieve practice of the full program. If necessary, the practices can be divided so that some are done in the morning and others in the evening, whenever time is available. I really love that because I had forgotten that I could do that. And I used to put a lot of pressure on myself to do all of them in the morning. And if it's not enjoyable, if there's like all this effort, it's just kind of it's not enjoyable. So let's break it up if you want to. We'll talk about that more later. And from our experience, we recommend that the techniques contained in each lesson be thoroughly mastered before progressing on to the next set of practices. Generally, this takes a minimum of 15 days and on the average 1 month. This is very important and an essential prerequisite for the eventual success of your sadhana or your spiritual practice. So when I talk about mastering a lesson, I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. So here's an example of one of the 3 programs, right? So you have Jala Neti, which is basically the cleansing of your nasal passages. You just use a neti pot and some salt water. So it's kind of cool. It cures the common cold. Things like that. Helps you avoid getting sick. It's actually really important right now with COVID-19 and all that. So you do that. And then if they think that maybe it will take you 4 minutes to do it. Then you have this other exercise called GOOLF and GHOORNAN and a couple other things. So this is the full exercise. Tells you how many rounds to do them and how many minutes you think you should spend on it. That's program 1. You have other options. You have program 2, which only takes half hour, or program 3, which takes a quarter hour. Let's look at the first exercise together. This exercise is called GOOLF ankle crank. I'm going to basically walk through quickly how to do it. You're welcome to maybe set up your space now and prepare to practice these exercises to my voice. In order to do that, you need to prepare your space. So, practice in a well-ventilated area, not outside. If it's windy, use a yoga mat, a rug, or something on the floor to kind of create your space. Wear comfortable clothing. Use common sense regarding this. And don't use any unnecessary strain or force in any of the exercises that are coming up. Though you may find that your muscles are a little stiff to begin with, they will begin to stretch even after a few days of regular practice. So the first of these pre-meditative asanas loosens up the ankle joints. Let's begin. So sit on a blanket. Stretch both legs out in front of the body. Bend the right leg. Hold the right ankle with the right hand. Place the right foot on the left thigh as near as possible to the groin. Hold the right toes with the left hand. Mentally say to yourself, I am loosening up my ankle joints, and with practice, they will become loose. Simultaneously rotate your ankle 10 times clockwise. Try to relax your foot as much as possible, rotating your foot about the ankle with your left hand. Again, mentally saying to yourself, I am loosening up my ankle joints, and with practice, they will become loose. And you repeat this 10 times one way, 10 times the other way. Then repeat the whole process 10 times clockwise, 10 times anti-clockwise, with the left foot folded on the right thigh. So 10 one way, 10 the other for the right leg, 10 one way, 10 the other with the left leg, the left foot. ARDHA, TITALIASANA, half butterfly. This exercise specifically loosens up the thigh, knee, and ankle joints. Here's the technique. Remain sitting as in the previous exercise. Fold the left leg. Place the left foot on the right thigh. Place the left hand on the top of the bent left knee. Relax your whole body, especially the folded leg. Gently push the left knee up and down. The bent leg should be as relaxed as possible, the movement being applied by the left arm. Simultaneously, mentally repeat to yourself, I am loosening up my ankle, knee, and hip joints, and will eventually be able to touch the floor with my folded knee. Move your knee up and down 50 times. After completing, slowly straighten your bent leg without jerking or twisting the knee. Then bend your leg, bringing your heel to the buttocks, and lastly, straighten it again. This releases muscular tension. Next, fold your right foot onto your left thigh. Repeat the same process, moving your right knee up and down 50 times. Repeating to yourself, I am loosening up my ankle, knee, and hip joints and will eventually be able to touch the floor with my knee. Note that with practice and the right mental approach, everyone should eventually be able to touch the knees to the ground. I emphasize that you must adopt the correct mental attitude. In other words, if you expect to eventually touch the floor with your knees, then you will. And earlier I mentioned mastering. I feel that you shouldn't move forward. I mean, do the rest of the exercises in the program, but I wouldn't recommend moving to program number 2 until you've mastered this one, until your knee is touching the floor, for example. Let's go to number 3 now. Hip rotation, SHRONI chakra. This exercise helps to strengthen the muscles and joints of the legs in preparation for meditation poses. Technique. Fold the left foot on the right thigh as in that previous exercise. Hold the bent knee with the left hand. Rotate the knee clockwise 10 times. Simultaneously mentally repeat to yourself, I am loosening up my legs and will eventually be able to touch the floor with my knees. Allow your bent leg to remain passive, using the force of the left arm to rotate the knee. Repeat 10 times anti-clockwise. So you're doing 10 times rotating one way and 10 times rotating the other way. Once you've finished, straighten your bent knee without jerking or twisting the knee. Bend the leg once, bringing the right heel near the buttocks. Then straighten the leg. This removes muscular tension and further loosens the joints. Repeat the same procedure with the other leg folded, rotating it one direction 10 times and then rotating it anti-clockwise 10 times. Note that I emphasize the importance of the mental repetition while performing the exercise. The whole point of it is to loosen up the legs so that you can eventually touch the knees on the ground, right? So if you don't have this goal in mind, the exercise is 75% less effective. Some people may find the exercise easier if they hold the foot of the folded leg with the opposite hand while rotating the knee with the other arm. Moving on. This one's important, Uttanasana, squat and rise pose. And I'll tell you why, because it's really great for pregnant women. If you're birthing, this is a pose that you might actually end up in. So squat and rise pose. This exercise strengthens and loosens the whole leg, specifically the knees. When it is perfected, one should be able to squat comfortably on the ground with both heels flat on the floor. Technique. Stand erect with your feet about 1 meter apart. Interlock your fingers in front of your abdomen and allow your arms to hang freely. Slowly bend your knees and lower your trunk about 20 centimeters. Return to the erect position. Again, descend, this time slightly lower. Return to the erect position again. Lower the body again. Your hands should be 30 centimeters above the floor. Rise again. Lower to the final lower position with hands on the floor. Return to an erect position and relax. Note, the final position practiced with hands on the knees is known as Kagasana, the crow pose, and we'll do that another time. KAUVA CHALASANA, crow walking. This again is an excellent exercise for loosening and strengthening the legs. Technique, assume Kagasana. So you're again squatting like in this pose, but with your hands on your knees, right? So you come back here, hands on the knees. Assume Kagasana. Make sure the palms are on your knees. Start slowly to walk in this position. You can either walk on tiptoe or keeping the feet flat on the floor. Spend half of your practice on tiptoe and the other half of your practice on the flats of your feet. Chalasana. I like that one. CHALANASANA. This is an excellent exercise for shoulders, lower back, lower abdomen, and waist. It is a movement which many Indian ladies use when they grind corn between two grinding wheels. So you sit on the floor with the legs outstretched, feet apart. Interlock your fingers, straighten your arms at shoulder height, rotate your hands in as big a circle as possible on a horizontal plane, and keep your arms straight throughout the whole exercise. Lean forward and try to make your interlocked hands pass over the top of the feet at the outer stroke of the circle. Then try to lean backwards as far as possible, keeping your feet on the ground so that your hands pass over the top of your thighs. Rotate your hands 10 times clockwise and 10 times anti-clockwise. Lie back and relax yourself completely at the end. Let's talk about breathing in this pose because I told you before it was very important. So breathe in as you lean backwards. Breathe out as you lean forwards. When you can easily perform the physical movements alone, coordinate your breathing with the movement. When the practice has been mastered with the breathing added, then become aware of the movement of the muscles of the lower back as this exercise is performed. Last two. I'm going to try to say this one, don't laugh at me. GATYATMAK, MERU, WAKRASANA, dynamic spinal twist. This exercise gives the whole spine a good twist in both directions and thereby loosens up the vertebrae and tones important spinal nerves. How do we do it? Remain in the same sitting position as the previous exercise, right? Separate your legs as far as is comfortable. Raise the arms on each side of the body to shoulder height, keeping them straight. The arms should stay in a straight line throughout the exercise. Lean forward and touch your left foot with your right hand. In this position, the left arm should point backwards in exactly the opposite direction to the right arm. Both arms should form one straight line. The head should be turned to gaze at the arm extended behind you. Now, twist your trunk in the opposite direction, touching the right foot with the left hand, the head turned in the opposite direction towards the right hand behind the back. This is one round. Do 10 to 20 rounds. As the body becomes more flexible, the legs should be spread further apart. Keep the legs straight throughout the exercise. Now, regarding breathing, exhale as you twist the body to either side and inhale as you center your body. Let's continue the last one. GREEVA, SANCHALANA, I think. SANCHALANA, yeah. Neck movements. All nerves connecting the different parts of the body must pass through the neck to reach the brain, right? So the following movements tone up these vital nerves and generally loosen up the neck vertebrae. It is also an excellent method of reducing tension and inducing calmness of mind. It can also help relieve headaches caused by too much tension in the shoulders and shoulder region. So to do this pose, you start by sitting cross-legged. Rest your hands on your lap. Relax your whole body. Let your shoulders drop. Make sure they are not hunched and close your eyes. Stage 1. With control, very slowly tilt the head forwards. Then slowly return the head to the upright position. Slowly tilt the head backwards. Then tilt the head forward again to a normal position. This is one round. So the whole movement should be completed in one smooth motion 10 times. Drop your head forwards. Drop your head backwards. Coming back to center. That was one, right? And then you do it 10 times. Stage 2 begins with you bending the head to each side with the ear going towards the shoulder in the same slow motion that was performed in the previous exercise. And you do 10 rounds of that. And I recommend that the time of rotation for one round be reduced to 15 seconds eventually, dropping one ear to one shoulder, the other ear to the other shoulder, back and forth, like 10 times. And finally, stage 3, slowly rotate your head clockwise in as large a circle as possible. Ensure that the shoulders remain as relaxed as possible throughout the practice. Rotate 5 to 10 times, then repeat the same rotation in the anti-clockwise direction. Throughout the practice, watch the space in front of the closed eyes. Try to imagine that your body is floating in this space and that your head is detached from your body. This will help to induce relaxation. Thank you guys so much for listening to this presentation and for joining me our first journey through the Kriya Yoga practices, the pre meditation exercises. I hope that you've enjoyed it. If you'd like to see a video of me actually practicing these poses in a yoga flow or just by themselves, please feel free to let me know. And I think the next class will be, the next blog will have something to do with that, or maybe we'll talk about pranayama. All right, thanks and have a wonderful day.